Let's talk about who has the top quarterback rooms in the sport in 2023. And I need to put the criteria in here and be loud about it because you're listening to the show, you're watching the show. I appreciate you, right? Because you're going to hear me give this context. You see this list, you're probably going to lose your mind. But the criteria is rather simple, right? Who has a great number one, right? Who has a solid number two? And which of those teams do I think is capable of winning a college football playoff if things go right? So we're going to start at number 5. We're going to go to number 1. Number 5, Tennessee. I think that was interesting because if you asked me this before the Orange Bowl, I would have told you I don't see it in Tennessee, right? I might be even talking about them and LSU in the same sentence. But because Joe Milton beat up on Clemson in the Orange Bowl and looked good doing it, he has helped Tennessee vault into the top 5 quarterback rooms in the sport for me. Now, I also have to mention Nico Iamaleava choosing to go to Tennessee cemented this for me. You have a starter who can go win you football games, is good enough to get you to the college football playoff, and you have a succession plan that everybody would love. And that's kind of the other part about this, right? You got to have a guy that somebody else wants, and you got to have a guy behind him that other people like, right? One is weighted more than the other, but that is the reason why Tennessee makes this list is between those two guys, Josh Heupel is set up for success for the next 4 years. That's as much as you can expect in today's college football. Number 4 on the list, I got to go with Texas. It's not necessarily Quinn Ewers. It's not necessarily Arch Manning. It's the two of them. We don't say this enough either. Point to raise. Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning are both former number 1 overall recruits in their respective recruiting classes. You are going to have to look far and wide for the quarterbacks being number 1 overall in either class, choosing to go to the same school to compete for the same job. It doesn't really happen. If nothing else, Steve Sarkisian deserves tremendous credit for keeping both of those guys in the burnt orange and white. Now, people are talking about Arch Manning competing with Quinn Ewers for the job, for which I'm going, that's football. That's what you do. Nobody's job is safe. That's iron sharpens iron, competitive spirit, all of that, right? But it ought to be Quinn, and it should be Quinn. He's got a year of playing in the Big 12. He's going into essentially what I call the contract year, right? Which you're playing for an NFL contract or you're not, right? And Arch Manning, like Jackson Arnold, Oklahoma, is positioned to lead you into the SEC. Let that dude learn. Let that dude figure out what it means for him to not just be a quarterback at Texas, but to be Arch Manning at Texas. That also might mean holding on to his student ID, which seems to end up on Snapchat every month or so. God love him, because we do too. All right. Number 3 on this list for me, I'm going back to Notre Dame. I think, again, it's Hartman. It's Buckner. If you keep both of those guys there, it's also CJ Carr. But that's further down the line. I'm getting deep into the weeds on recruiting. But I really like what I see from Sam Hartman. He has moxie. He didn't buck when his offensive coordinator that probably recruited him Notre Dame chose to take a job at Alabama. He said, I'm at Notre Dame. I'm here to win football games. And I think he's going to have a shot to do just that. Again, it's find me the guys he's throwing the football to. Now, to that point, you probably can't name a bunch of dudes that would catch football from him at Wake Forest. So there's that. But I think between him and Tyler Buckner, you're in a very good situation if you're Marcus Freeman, which is not something that we would have said last October. Last October, it was looking dire at Notre Dame. And we were having jokes here on the show about who's going to figure it out first, Oklahoma or Notre Dame. You can see how that one went for you boys. Your boy did not come out on top in that particular discussion. Okay, number 2 on the list, Ohio State. I've already said Kyle McCord to Marvin Harrison Jr. That is the thing for me. It's also Devin Brown is behind him. I think they're in a really great spot. I think if it's about getting back to Michigan undefeated, they're going to be able to do that. It's whether or not they can win that game. Because we thought it was an aberration in 2021. Michigan said, no. It's our conference now, right? You might not like that it's our conference now, but it's our conference now. And you're going to have to take it back from us. They won it in Ann Arbor. They won it in Columbus. Comes back to Ann Arbor. We'll see which quarterback is the guy leading them into battle. But I really like Kyle McCord and Devin Brown. And then number 1 on the list, USC. All right. to our director, Chris Cheshire, who is a USC alumnus, probably smiling from ear to ear. But let me walk this out. Caleb Williams is the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. Showed up to USC and won 11 football games. The best player in the sport, number one. Okay. Now, in the Pac-12 championship, your man's Caleb Williams came up with a bum hammy. And rather than play Miller Moss, who we think was totally healthy in that game, Lincoln Riley chose to let Caleb Williams limp around back there trying to play quarterback. That does not speak well of the depth behind Caleb Williams. Because it's one thing to not have another Caleb Williams. Nobody expects you to have that. It is another thing for that dude to be out there on one leg and you still think that you need to play him. Put another way, even Andy Reid put Patrick Mahomes on the bench for Chad Henne because the dude was hurt. That is not what Lincoln Riley did at SC. I don't think that's a decision that you make lightly, okay? Because when it comes to matters of health, players, you don't get a say. You don't get a say. The athletic training staff, the doctors, they say, and then the coach hears, and he goes and acts. There is no Friday Night Lights to this. There is no, maybe he could play on it, it's all mental. We don't do that anymore. We take care of players. That's not what you do. Okay. Other part about this is, I wonder how many people are smiling about Caleb Williams being at the top of this list. Because this is the thing. This is a thing now, and I want to discuss it. Over the last 3 months, Williams has done interviews, right? Did one with People where he was asked who he would like to play for in the NFL. The first thing that he mentioned was Miami, Jalen Waddle, Mike McDaniels. He likes younger coaches. And then apparently people stopped reading after the first quote because he went on to say things like, I play in Atlanta, I play in San Francisco. He wants to be an NFL quarterback. What I found interesting about that is how many people were ready to stop, ready to say, I don't like this guy, who already thinks that he gets to pick what team he plays for in the NFL. Not 3 days ago, he gave another interview, Pro Football Focus, where he said some things that coming out of him heard people wrong, right? One of those things is, hey, I want to be the number one overall pick in the NFL draft. Another one of those is, I look at what Joe Burrow was able to do at LSU. I want to go 15-0, and I want everybody on the team to get drafted. Now, you hear that, and that sounds fine on its face. Like, what quarterback would not want to go 15-0? What quarterback would not want to be drafted number one overall? What quarterback would not like to see his entire offense get selected in the same NFL draft? But it's Caleb Williams that said it. So why are there people that get some kind of way, feeling some kind of way when Caleb Williams says these things? Because you put F-U-C-K on your nails plus Utah. There was no need for that. And people saw it. You put it there for people to see. That's why we paint our nails, so people can see them and compliment them. And we take that kind of seriously in a conservative sport like college football. Not conservative politically, but just in how we present. We're about tradition. We're about humility. We're about working for it. And even if you are the best to ever do it, it behooves you not to say so. Let other people say that. An example of this is Kyler Murray is the best athlete to ever play at Oklahoma. You might fight me and say Adrian Peterson, but I'm going to win that one because Kyler Murray can do things on any field that nobody else could do. But you never once heard Kyler Murray say things like, hey, I want to be the best. He would just kind of say, no, I'm working as hard as I can. It's all in how you position this stuff. But more importantly, he didn't put profanity on his nails and direct it at the team he's playing. And then lose that game and give Cam Rising the opportunity to give the best comeback in the history of comebacks, which is, I hope he liked it. Dog, that's where we're at with SC. Right? When SC is good, they're villains. Producer Tyler made this point. They're villains. Right? Even Pete Carroll, who's a nice guy, was seen as some sort of Darth Vader figure when SC was demolishing people. People didn't like Reggie Bush. They liked watching Reggie Bush. People didn't like Matt Leinart. They liked watching Matt Leinart. People certainly didn't like Ray Malaluga, Brian Cushing, and like Look, I remember that linebacker core and being terrified. I remember looking at those dudes and being like, yo, do we make them that big and that fast? And apparently we do, right? Now, the Brian Cushing thing, I'm going to put aside, but you get the point there. SC was murdering people, and they were not apologizing for it. That was back when SC felt like the team of South Central, right? Get back to being the team of South Central. You're probably going to get more people on your team. But when they're good, somebody wears the black hat. Caleb Williams, apparently, he'll court the black hat. He'll wear the black hat. He'll say things on Twitter. He'll write a diary for Sports Illustrated. He'll talk to people and tell them what he thinks because he's that good. Now, I say there are 3 things to get you jobs, and there are only 2 of them that you need. One is be on time, costs nothing. The other is have people like you. That's touch and go, right? Depends on just what your disposition is. And the third one is be good at your job, okay? 2 of those things will get you jobs. 2 of those things will keep you employed. But you start messing with one of those things, that leads to 2 of those things, all of a sudden, you better be looking around. The way I get at this is Baker Mayfield. I love me some Baker Mayfield. In many respects, I started talking about college football on YouTube because of Baker Mayfield, right? And that has grown into this. Baker walked around chippy, which played well at Oklahoma because we're chippy. It's a flyover state. I get made fun of for staying in Tulsa as opposed to living in Los Angeles by some of my peers. But I'm from here. I carry this, right? My heart is here. Red dirt, putting my work boots on, calluses on my hands. That's what I'm about. But I carry it, right? Baker carried it too. The difference is when you get to a place where you're no longer the best, that doesn't play anymore. You can't have people just not like you and not be the best to ever do it. It's a very sharp fall. And I worry about that. I worry about that for a 21-year-old who has a Heisman Trophy and still is going to play another year of college football. I worry about how people are going to perceive him going into the NFL because that follows Baker around everywhere he goes, right? Now people want to use him as a punchline because he's played football at more than one place. But you can see the talent is there, and you can see that he could spin it. And you can see his personality is his personality. But it's all about what you say and how you say it, right? A lot of this simply, do you have good intentions, right? Are you picking a fight to pick a fight? Are you chippy for chippy shake? Or is that what you need to be for you to feel good about who you are? Caleb Williams, best football player in the sport. I want people to still believe that, even when he's not. Thank you for watching the #1 college football show. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and like this video so that you don't miss any of the best college football coverage in America.